August 13th, 2026, just outside Cottondale, Florida. Law enforcement officers are closing in on a house off Peanut Road, and somewhere inside is a woman they've been looking for 45 days. Her name is Isabelle Rose Johnson. She's 38 years old, 5'3", about 120 pounds, and according to police, she's very good at disappearing.
Like, really good. Because this isn't 45 days hiding in somebody's attic. Police say she's been changing her appearance, moving around, using different names, getting people to help her. And by this point, the search has stretched across Florida, Georgia, and Alabama.
She's been called cunning, a master manipulator. Police have circulated her aliases. They've released photographs of her tattoos. There's a $16,000 reward. 5 other people have already been arrested in connection with the case, and investigators have executed more than 20 search warrants and issued more than 40 subpoenas.
All looking for one woman.
And now they think they've finally found her. Members of a U.S. Marshals task force moved towards the house, and this time, Isabelle Johnson doesn't run.
But to understand why this many people were looking for her,
we need to go back almost 3 months to another Florida town and to a man named Jason Coulthard.
This is Detention.
I'm Rose.
I'm Otis.
And this is Isabelle Johnson, the 45-day manhunt.
Recess is over.
Jason Christopher Coulthard was 43 years old. He was originally from New Jersey, worked as an electrician, and was a father. His son was 20 years old. On May 24th, Jason was in Niceville, Florida, a small city in the Florida Panhandle. He was last seen leaving the college condominiums on East College Boulevard, and then Jason disappeared.
And at first, that's what this was, a missing person case. Nobody knows yet that this is going to turn into a murder investigation. Nobody knows there will eventually be a 3-state manhunt. They're just trying to find Jason.
But a month passes, and then investigators receive information that changes everything. It points them toward a property off Sunset Lane in Freeport, about 20 miles away. On June 25th, investigators search the property, and they find human remains.
In a shallow grave.
Yes, and what investigators reportedly found there was deeply disturbing. According to arrest report-based accounts of the investigation, the grave had been covered with concrete, a black Cadillac had been positioned above it, and investigators reportedly found a large zip tie around the victim's neck. DNA testing would later confirm that the remains belonged to Jason Coulthard.
So the search for a missing man is over. Now they're investigating a homicide.
And within a day of finding Jason's body, authorities have identified a suspect. June 26th, a judge issues an arrest warrant for Isabelle Rose Johnson on a murder charge. But there's a problem.
They've got the warrant. They don't have Isabelle.
Exactly. And this is where the story becomes extraordinary, because Isabelle Johnson appears to have vanished.
So who is she?
That's actually harder to answer than you might expect. There isn't a neat public biography of Isabelle Johnson. What emerges instead is a picture assembled largely from investigators trying to find her. She's 38, brown hair, hazel eyes. Although police soon warn people not to rely too heavily on the hair, because they believe she's cutting it, dyeing it, changing her appearance. And then there are the names.
Plural.
Very plural. Police say she has used multiple identities and aliases. Harley, Jessica Elaine Bowman, Jessica Elaine Thrush, sometimes spelled Thrush, Jessica Dowdy, possibly Denise, and potentially others.
So if you're putting out a wanted poster, you've got a problem. The photograph might change, the hair might change, the name might change.
Which is why investigators eventually do something unusual. They stop concentrating only on her face and start showing people things that are much harder to change. Her tattoos. A flower or rose on her left hand, beginning near the thumb. A tattoo on her right ankle. A large scorpion extending down her left side and thigh. And another large tattoo across her back. Police release close-up photographs of them to the public, essentially saying, don't just look for this face, look for these marks.
Because you can dye your hair in 20 minutes. That scorpion is coming with you.
Pretty much. And authorities aren't describing Johnson as someone who's simply hiding quietly. They say she's moving frequently, using different identities, and manipulating people into helping her. Investigators warned that she may tell people stories about domestic violence or personal hardship to gain sympathy, money, transportation, or somewhere to stay. The Walton County Sheriff's Office eventually describes her as a
Master manipulator.
Their words. And as the weeks go by, investigators begin discovering just how much alleged help she may have been receiving.
And this part surprised me, because when you hear fugitive, you picture one person running from the police, maybe sleeping in a car, paying cash, staying off the grid, but that's apparently not what investigators believe happened here.
No, authorities allege that there was essentially a support network around Johnson. By mid-July, 5 other people had been arrested: Michael Ray White, Kathleen Morris, Bobby Wagstaff, Martin Leverton, and Sandra Leverton. All 5 were charged in connection with allegedly helping after the killing, and arrest reports describe a web of assistance involving transportation, places to stay, belongings, and communications.
Which also answers one of the obvious questions. How does somebody stay missing for this long?
Precisely. According to investigators, Johnson wasn't necessarily doing it alone, and Walton County Sheriff Michael Atkinson eventually issues a very direct warning to anyone who might still be helping her. If you give her somewhere to stay, help her hide, or lie for her, you can expect consequences. Because as the sheriff makes clear, this isn't somebody ducking a minor warrant. This is a homicide investigation.
And every person who helps her potentially gives investigators another phone, another text message, another car, another address, another person to interview.
Which becomes very important later, because while Isabelle Johnson is trying to disappear, investigators are doing the opposite. They're building a map. By the middle of July, the reward for information leading to Johnson's arrest reaches $11,000. Then it climbs again, $16,000. Police expand their public appeals. Florida, Georgia, Alabama. Her aliases are circulated, her photographs are circulated, her tattoos are circulated. Authorities warn the public that she should be considered dangerous and shouldn't be approached.
And yet, nothing.
Nothing that ends the search. Days become weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5.
And the longer that goes on, the stranger it gets. Because we're not talking about somebody who vanished into another country. Police believe she's still moving around the southeast.
Right. And every day she's missing creates 2 simultaneous investigations. One into what happened to Jason Coulthard, and another into where Isabelle Johnson is now. By the time the manhunt ends, authorities say the broader investigation has involved more than 40 subpoenas and over 20 search warrants. Think about the amount of information behind those numbers: phone records, accounts, addresses, interviews, communications, connections.
And somewhere in all of that, somebody finally finds the thread.
August 13th, 45 days into the search, investigators with the Walton County Sheriff's Office Cybercrimes Unit develop information from Johnson's communications, and this time they believe they know where she is. The information points towards a house near Cottondale, Florida, a small community in Jackson County. Law enforcement converges on a residence off Peanut Road. At approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, members of a U.S. Marshals task force move in.
And after 45 days,
Isabelle Rose Johnson is taken into custody, without incident. No chase, no dramatic standoff, no last-minute escape. It's simply over.
And there's something almost strange about that. All those aliases, all those alleged helpers, 3 states, tattoos on wanted posters, $16,000 in reward money, 40-plus subpoenas, more than 20 search warrants, and in the end, they walk her out of a house in Cottondale.
But there's one photograph from the arrest that almost seems too perfectly scripted. Johnson is being escorted by law enforcement, and she's wearing a black t-shirt. Across the front are 5 words.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
What does it say?
A force to be reckoned with.
You're kidding.
I am absolutely not kidding.
45-day manhunt. Police calling you a master manipulator. 5 alleged accomplices arrested. And that's the shirt you're wearing when they finally catch you?
You couldn't put that in a fictional crime story. An editor would send it back.
2 on the nose.
Far too on the nose.
But this is also where we've got to separate the almost unbelievable manhunt story from the reason there was a manhunt in the first place. Jason Coulthard is dead.
Exactly. And for Jason's family, August 13th isn't a quirky ending involving an unfortunate wardrobe choice. It's the day the woman accused of murdering their son, father, brother, and friend is finally in custody. Johnson has been charged with murder, but she has not been convicted, and many details reported about Jason's death come from allegations contained in the investigation and accounts attributed to witnesses. Those allegations will have to be tested through the legal process.
And police have said the investigation isn't necessarily finished just because Johnson has been caught.
Correct. Authorities have indicated that additional charges and potentially additional arrests could follow. Johnson is being held without bond in Walton County, and investigators are still working through the enormous amount of evidence accumulated during the case, which means there are questions we still can't answer. Exactly what happened to Jason on or around May 24th? What was the relationship between Jason and Johnson? What was the motive? Who knew what and when? And how much help did Johnson actually receive during those 45 days?
Those answers will come from evidence, not from wanted posters, not from rumors, and not from us guessing.
Exactly. But there is something revealing about the way this case unfolded. When Jason Coulthart disappeared on May 24th, hardly anyone outside his family, friends, and community knew his name. Then investigators found him. A warrant was issued, and suddenly another name began appearing everywhere: Isabelle Johnson. Police alerts, television, news sites, social media. Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Different photographs, different hairstyles, different names, until authorities were eventually publishing pictures of tattoos because even a face was no longer considered reliable enough.
And for 45 days, the question was, where is Isabelle Johnson?
Now we know she's in custody, and the question changes. What happened to Jason Coulthart? And can prosecutors prove who was responsible?
Because catching a suspect ends a manhunt. It doesn't end a murder case.
Not even close. This story is still developing, and if there are significant developments in the case, we'll come back to it. For now, Jason Coulthart was 43 years old. He was a father, he had a 20-year-old son, and on May 24th, he disappeared from Niceville, Florida. 32 days later, investigators found his remains, and 49 days after that, the woman accused of murdering him was finally in custody.
Wearing possibly the worst timed t-shirt in Florida history.
Otis.
I waited until the end.
You did. I'm actually rather proud of you.
Growth.
We'll see how long it lasts. I'm Rose.
And I'm Otis.
And this has been Detention.
Recess is over.
A final note before we go. This episode discusses an active criminal case. Isabelle Rose Johnson has been charged with murder, but is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. Descriptions of alleged conduct by Johnson and others are based on law enforcement statements, court or arrest records, as reported by news organizations, and other publicly available reporting.
Detention uses synthetic voices and artificial intelligence tools as part of its production process.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.